nec conforde conteste confunde est. Roughly translated, don't fuck with Mother Nature. Welcome, huge movie fanatic Nate, stopping on by. I realized I didn't get the whatever the hell it was, Latin or whatever the hell thing that I translated it, but I couldn't remember it, so I did my best, and maybe it was a little comical. Hope you guys enjoyed my version of whatever the hell language that was. This is kind of interesting for reasons you'll see as I get into the review of this Blu-ray that I got recently. Like I say, I did a review of Kino Lorber's recent release of A Perfect Weapon, or The Perfect Weapon. And like I said in that video, like I say, Kino Lorber is really just putting out the movies, 4K and Blu-ray releases. And like I say, this one wasn't as reasonably priced as that one, but I got this one I think for like $18, which definitely beats the $30+ that Scream Factory or Shout Factory ask for titles. Like I said, if anyone wants to gift me the Scream Factory Blu-ray release of Funeral Home, feel free to do so. But because there's no way I'm paying $30+ for Funeral Home on Blu-ray, but that's another video. Today I'm stopping on by to do one of my famed movie/Blu-ray reviews of the movie by the name of Leviathan. Would you believe a Russian grandmother? So my history with this movie probably goes back to when it was new on home video. I don't think I had any interest in seeing this in the theater. Of course, this is one of the three underwater movies that came out in 1989. I want to say, the first of which I did see. I actually liked a lot more in the summer of '89 when I rented the video cassette, Deep Star 6. I'm pretty sure I've already done a movie Blu-ray review of that. Kino Lorber was gracious enough to put that on Blu-ray years ago, and I was very excited about that release. That movie is probably, out of all three of the underwater movies, my favorite and the one I watched the most as a kid. Deep Star 6, so I've already done a movie and Blu-ray review of that release that Kino Lorber put out years ago. But this one, you know, I did end up seeing probably in 1990, I would imagine, when it was on frickin', you know, VHS. And I do remember, I think I ended up buying it. So I think I ended up selling it. I'm not sure if I've got the VHS anymore or not. But this was a movie that I did see probably in 1990, and I own the VHS. And obviously, I can't remember. I don't think I would have blind bought. I don't think I necessarily did a whole hell of a lot of that when I was a kid. But I imagine we would have rented it, and then I liked it enough to buy it. I would probably bought it at Suncoast brand new or something. And you know, I did end up getting a DVD of it, like in the early 2000s, maybe 2007-ish or 8-ish or something, and watched it a little, you know, a decent amount back then. And one thing you got to give this movie, you know, regardless of what you think of it, is like the cast. Holy Hannah, you know, Peter Weller right off of the success of RoboCop, and the sexy Amanda Pays, and Hector Alonso, and Daniel Stern, and the guy from the Mexican guy from Batteries Not Included, who I guess died not long after he made this movie. I didn't know that. I didn't look online to see what he died of, but that's a freaking bummer. And then that one sexy ass chick from Beverly Hills Cop. Did I cover everyone? Or Ernie Hudson, you know, freaking Ernie Hudson. The cast in this movie is pretty insane, honestly. And Jerry Goldsmith did the music. I want to say Ron Cobb was, you know, responsible, in addition to possibly others, for production design. So this movie came like 10 years after Alien, and is basically like Alien except for in space. Not, you know, Alien is in space. This is Alien more or less underwater. So it's interesting how there's so many people like, you know, Ron Cobb and Jerry Goldsmith who did Alien that did this, which is interesting. But you know, obviously, like Deep Star 6, I think that came before it, and then this came out, and then The Abyss came out. It's funny how they came out. I think if they came out in that order, it's kind of the same order as the budget. Like Deep Star 6 is the lowest, Leviathan's this, you know, it's bigger budget, and obviously Abyss is just the biggest of all three. That's a no-brainer. But one thing I was actually surprised and disappointed about to learn, which I never knew until just recently when I found out about it. I think when I read the review on Blu-ray.com of this Blu-ray release, then the guy's like, the fake underwater photography looks great, and I'm like, what? Kind of bursted my bubble. I was like, what? It's dry for wet? And I guess a testament to the movie's Dry for Wetness. It was I was kind of pissed off to learn that. Like, oh man, what a jip, you know. But the reason it goes, you know, the reason it fools you so well is because there's shots here and there of underwater, like when they show a shot of that drill thing or whatever, and whatever concrete slab or you know whatever comes down like in a thundering, you know, that looks like it is a shot underwater. So it's like if you just put, you know, a shot here or there that is actually underwater in addition, you know, in mixed with all this dry for wet stuff, then I guess it fooled me. So I was kind of pissed. I kind of ruined the movie a little bit to find out it wasn't underwater. But oh well, you know, at the end when they're going up from underwater, it's, you know, it is underwater. But one thing I never understood about this movie is when the movie, you know, when it's right at the beginning when it starts, like that circular, you know, bubble that is like rising to the top. Like I don't understand if that has any significance, or it's just like, hey, we can make this circular bubble that rises to the top, and then when it hits the surface, we can do scary Leviathan title and the music and stuff. But incidentally, like the opening credit music, I think I've always found kind of annoying. Like you know, I like the overall theme, like da 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 da. Like the theme is good, but the thing I kind of think is little lame is like it was kind of like a wail, like wow 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 wow, you know, as a part of like the instrumentation, like wow 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 wow, you know, it's stupid and cool at the same time, and that's like the opening credit. Is it only there during the opening credits music, and that it is that it, or is it there other times too? But yeah, whoa whoa whoa. Woo, 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 like underwater, you know, aquatic animals, you know, chorus. It's just kind of funny. But the story of this movie, you know, Deep Star 6 is about them placing a missile platform for impending World War III or whatever, and this one's about you know, the miners are down there extracting, you know, precious metals and, you know, silver or whatever, and this is is it like this on Deep Star 6 too, where it's very close to the end of the, you know, their time underwater? I can't remember. I gotta watch Deep Star 6 again. But regardless, this movie, they're just days away from their 90-day, you know, whatever you want to call it, tour, or their work schedule underwater. They're mining, you know, silver, very close to meeting quota, and just days away from meeting it. And there's some day off, and these, you know, kind of Daniel Stern and Amanda Pays kind of prank each other back and forth, which gets them on this, whatever the hell Peter Weller called it. Peter Weller's like the the shack boss, the shack being the underwater facility of these miners. Oh, Richard Crenna, how could I forget him? He's part of the cast. Jeez Louise. Yeah, Richard Crenna of Rambo trilogy fame and Summer Rental. I think that's the only movies I own that have Richard Crenna besides Leviathan. But yeah, so Amanda Pays and Daniel Stern kind of prank each other back and forth, which gets them in trouble, and they get on some kind of duty of, I don't know what they don't even explain, like, you know, what they're out doing, just like looking around, looking for buried treasure. But they end up coming up across this this sunken Russian ship called Leviathan, and it turns out that they look it up, and it's like, you know, they kind of like scrub, from what I understand, they scrubbed the records, where it's kind of like maybe they, you know, once that one went down, they named, or maybe they named two ships Leviathan, so they knew that what they were going to do with this one should something go wrong and it sink, and then the other one can just be active in the Baltic Sea, like the hot chick from Beverly Hills Cop said. But so they come across this sunken ship, and they end up, you know, Daniel Stern finds a frickin' safe and brings it back. He's like, I'm rich! And he finds the safe, and they empty the safe and see all these, like, just, you know, personal effects of all these deceased people, which is really kind of creepy. And then they find this vodka and in a bottle, in a flask and stuff. So what ends up happening is Daniel Stern drinks some of this vodka, and then the next day he ends up being in bad shape, and he starts mutating, and he dies, and then his dead body will start mutating, and then this chick, the hot chick from what's it called? Beverly Hills Cop. She ends up drinking some as well. So both of them kind of die. Well, she kills herself because she sees what happened to Daniel Stern character. So she kills herself in the shower, and then they put. I can't. How does her corpse get with Daniel Stern's corpse? They end up finding them later on where they're like starting to combine and stuff. So basically, what we end up finding is this sunken Russian ship was this how do you say that? Experimental. They did this experimental thing on this Russian ship or whatever to presumably the Russian crew and stuff and they don't explain why. They're trying to make a hybrid of a human that can live underwater or whatever for Richard Crenna. He does some hypothesizing about that. And incidentally, it's really cool having the Richard Crenna character like talk about like the realities of things versus, regarding like corporate. Oh, Meg Foster is the goofy-eyed looking. Are those her real eyes? I think those are her real eyes. But she's like the boss of them, like Peter Weller's boss on a screen for the whole movie, and she's just like corporate boss bitch. And her name's Martin, and it's just kind of like. Anyway, I don't know where I was going, but what I was saying was. What's really cool about this movie is usually like Peter Weller, he's the star, and usually that character who's the star and the lead man and stuff is always the one who's right. What's interesting about this movie is Richard Crenna being the older guy who's got more life experience, and he's actually, his character has actually gone through the ringer, and he was like a famous doctor, and something happened where he ended up being demoted or whatever and put underneath the ocean in this situation. He's the doctor, of the Shack's doctor, And what's really interesting about this movie, once stuff starts happening, Peter Weller's like, they'll save us, and Richard Crenna's like, they're beholden to the almighty dollar. If you think they're going to risk possible market loss just to save us, you've got another thing coming. And Peter Weller's all like, he's all just bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and he's all positive and foolishly so. And Richard Crenna ends up being right, and he's like, I'll bet you $5 it's a clerical error. And then later on, when Peter Weller realizes he was wrong, he's in the doctor. Richard Crenna's already dead. He's like, Doc, I owe you $5. So it's really cool to have like the main character star be wrong and proven wrong, and having the character realize he's wrong throughout the course of the movie. But what I will say about the movie, so obviously people get infected, and more people get infected and die, to where I guess I don't have to necessarily spoil the end in regards to the survivors and the stuff. But one thing I will say about this movie is I think that it's just, I don't know what the hell happened, but I think the first half is infinitely more strong than the second half. Like, especially when you're talking about like the last third. It seems to be like, for me, like maybe the first third is really amazing, maybe the second third's more or less good, and then the last third, in my opinion, is just like everything just falls apart, well, literally, because so does the shack and everything blows up and stuff. But in regards to the creature, obviously the alien in the film 10 years prior, the H.R. Geiger creation, in the first movie was just, beyond classic. And, let's face it, the creature that they kept, whatever the hell you want to call it, we'll just say creature that they come up with for this is like just a mishmash of whatever, and who the hell knows, kind of like a, John Carpenter's The Thing meets Alien meets who the hell knows what. So one thing I will say about this movie is just like the end of the last half really, in my opinion, doesn't live up to the more or less strong opening this movie has, and it's kind of, towards the end, and it's just like, yeah, I don't really love the last third of this movie very much, and how it ends and all that kind of stuff, and a lot of cheating going on, and just, stuff. So I guess that'll more or less do it for my review of Leviathan. How many stars would I give it? I can go as high as 2.5 stars out of 4 stars for Leviathan. Like, the cast is incredible, and like just like everyone's more or less some kind of a more or less star on different variations of star. A year before, Daniel Stern would go on to become ridiculously famous in Home Alone, and a year before Amanda Pays would, get the Flash TV series and things. I don't know if this might be the first thing I've seen Amanda Pays in, and then of course the Flash TV series. I don't know how much I've really I don't think I've really seen her in necessarily anything else, but she was a cutie back in the day, that's for sure. And like I say, that I knew that one Mexican guy from Batteries Not Included, having seen that in the theater, and I don't think I really knew much about that. Hector Alonso is the one other guy, I think. I don't think I'd really seen him in much, but more and then I don't think I really saw. I don't know when the hell I would have seen. If I'd seen, Beverly Hills Cop before I saw this, I didn't remember that woman. But it was only recently when I revisited Beverly Hills Cop that I'm like, oh, the woman from Leviathan. So there's a lot of strengths to this movie. Like the cinematography is great, the production design is great, and the dry for, apparently, I guess, disappointing, but dry for wet underwater stuff is great. I guess they had like feathers and stuff floating in the screen, which is doubling for, ocean gunk in the water. I mean, it's probably the best dry for wet I've ever seen, very, very, I just, kind of just disappointing. All these years I thought it was really underwater, but I can understand why they wouldn't want to do it underwater. Who the hell would? But, yeah, good dry for wet, good music, good cast, more or less strong first half or whatever, and yeah, so I guess that'll be my movie review. Now on to, this is the interesting bit, now on to my review of the recently released Kino Lorber Blu-ray release. I'll just read the back here so you can see what we're dealing with. Brand new HD master from a 4K scan of the 35mm inter-positive! Exclamation point. Kind of makes you wonder, like, is the camera negative lost? Is it gone? Is it damaged? Why the hell are we doing interpositive? But whatever, it's just what's going on for this Blu-ray release. As we can see, special features, audio commentary by film historians this guy and that guy, Leviathan Monster Melting Pot featurette. It's like 40 minutes of just, I think all the featurettes on here, possibly all the special features, are ported over from a previous Scream Factory Blu-ray release, I think. Dissecting Cobb, interview with actor Hector Alonso, Surviving the Leviathan, interview with actor Ernie Hudson, and theatrical trailer. I think all the special features, as I said, were ported over from a previous Scream Factory release. Yeah, I don't know if it's because of the movie's like wide aspect ratio, but one thing I guess I was kind of disappointed in the Blu-ray release. Like, it looks a little smeary and not too sharp, but I mean the colors and the contrast and the brightness and everything is great. But when I got close to the TV and stuff, I was like, God, it's really not necessarily that sharp. It looks a little kind of smeary and not particularly sharp. But I will say that the transfer. Talking about the transfer, I mean, like I say, the best version, or the most recent version I have of this movie is just the DVD from, whatever, probably the first DVD release. So, yeah, so it's obviously, it's an upgrade from that. And like I say, the colors and the contrast and the brightness and things are really good. But I still think that, the sharpness leaves a little bit to be desired. Like, I was expecting, of course, it's an inner positive and not a camera negatives, so I don't know if that's got something to do with it, but I was expecting more sharpness on a new 4K scan, and even on just standard Blu-ray release I was hoping for a little more. But I mean, it's watchable. Admittedly, it was a little bit of a disappointment, especially after the more or less stellar video presentation of The Perfect Weapon on a recently released Kino Lorber Blu-ray release. I just watched it on a little TV with the stereo speakers built into the TV, so I can't comment on the 5.1 audio. I hope to watch that soon, but obviously it'll be after I record this review, because I'm recording the review now, and I'll be watching the 5.1 if I ever do sometime later. But no anomalies to report on the audio that I can report on, and this is the standard 2-channel surround. Ooh, that reminds me of an anomaly on the video front of this production, or not production, this Blu-ray release. Like, early on in the film, I think like right around the time they're having dinner or whatever, there's I think Hector Alonso was walking, maybe giving a spiel about, oh, your kids and you've been strung out on other drugs, giving his rant about life and stuff. That was another part I really liked, But, yeah, there's a part where he's walking where it was like, beep, like it jumps, like a frames missing or something, and I was like, was that a Blu-ray glitch? And I just pressed back and played it again, and sure enough, that was a defect on the actual disc itself. So yeah, there was at least one, like, missing frames bit, or just a screw up in relation to missing something that looks like missing frames, just a video glitch, at least one that I saw. So you might be wondering, what's this interesting stuff he keeps talking about? The interesting thing about what I ended up getting is I ended up getting, as you can see, and I'll show a shot of the back. As you can see, not being a 4K owner, I ordered the Blu-ray on Amazon, as Kino Lorber put out, I think probably at the same time, a Blu-ray version of this and a 4K/Blu-ray release as well. And what I think is really funny is, like, I think the 4K Blu-ray combo was only like $1 more, at least when it was on sale, or right around the time I bought it, or maybe after I bought it. The 4K Blu-ray combo came down to just like $1 more than the Blu-ray only, so it was kind of weird. But what I ended up getting is a Blu-ray release slipcover with a 4K/Blu-ray combo underneath the slipcover. So I actually got a 4K and a Blu-ray disc when I paid for a Blu-ray disc. But like I say, I think, at the time that I got it, or subsequent days after I got it and it arrived, the price of the 4K Blu-ray combo is only $1 more than the Blu-ray. But kind of interesting that I got the 4K Blu-ray combo. So if you're interested to know what the 4K/Blu-ray combo looks like of the Kino Lorber Leviathan release, this is what it looks like. Standard Kino Lorber boring disc art. I think that's 4K there, and DVD over here. Order Blu-ray and get 4K and Blu-ray. I can live with that, and a Blu-ray slipcover. Maybe someday, if I ever get 4K, it'll be a good thing. I didn't think to check this till after I shot the video, but turns out there is actually reversible cover art on this release. I didn't think there was, because they used the original theatrical poster, but there is reversible cover art option for this release, and I don't exactly know where this cover is from. Maybe it's an alternate poster or something, but I definitely prefer the picture that's featured on the slipcover most. That was the poster that was on the original VHS in 1990. Definitely, or 89, whenever the hell VHS came out. Definitely prefer that, and didn't even occur to me to look underneath the cover, but turns out there's a reversible cover art. Not that, I don't know why anyone would want to use this, but it's an option. Guess that pretty much does it for this review. Hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks so much for watching, and as always, we'll catch you on the next video. So if you're interested in knowing what the 4K/Blu-ray Kino Lorber combo Blu-ray take two.